All right, buckle up, everybody, because we're taking a deep dive today into Captain America, Brave New World.
Anthony Mathie's new outing as Cap, huh?
The latest Marvel flick. But this one seems like it might be a bit different.
Different how?
Well, we've got a whole pile of reviews here, some interviews with the cast and crew, even some think pieces about the movie's politics.
Sounds like we've got our work cut out for us.
Let's dive in. See what we can uncover about Brave New World. One thing that keeps popping up in the reviews is this connection to Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
Ah, yeah. A lot of critics are drawing parallels there. And it makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, on the surface, you've got Captain America, you've got...
espionage.
Yeah, that conspiracy thriller vibe.
Right.
But how does Brave New World actually build on what Winter Soldier did? Like, what's the thematic connection?
Well, Winter Soldier wasn't just about, punching Nazis or whatever. It was about Cap's relationship with authority. How power can be corrupted, even with the best of intentions.
Yeah.
And it seems like Brave New World is picking up that thread with Sam Wilson now as Captain America facing those same dilemmas. Remember, in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he actually gave up the shield at first?
He did.
Because he didn't trust the government.
I'm seeing that a lot of the reviews are calling this film a sequel.
Yeah.
Not just to the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series, but to The Incredible Hulk.
Okay.
And even Eternals. How is that even possible?
It's a lot, right?
It's a lot to take in.
But the Hulk connection comes from the return of Samuel Stearns.
Okay.
The scientist who was exposed to Banner's blood, big forehead, remember him?
Vaguely, yeah.
He's a key player in this whole conspiracy plot.
Okay, that makes sense. But Eternals, I mean, that film was dealing with
Celestials, the fate of the planet.
Right, celestial beings and all that. How does that tie into Captain America?
Well, it's a subtle visual reference, apparently.
Okay.
There's a scene in Brave New World where we see that giant celestial statue, the one from Eternals, lurking in the ocean.
Oh.
Just a reminder of the larger forces at play in the MCU.
So it's like a little Easter egg for the fans.
Yeah, exactly. A way of acknowledging that even seemingly standalone stories are still part of this big interconnected universe.
Okay, so we've got this tangled web of MCU connections.
Right.
But before we get lost in the multiverse, let's talk about the plot of Brave New World. You mentioned a conspiracy. What's going on there?
So a few years after Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Sam is still trying to figure out this whole Captain America thing. And things get complicated when Isaiah Bradley, the forgotten super soldier from the past, tries to assassinate President Ross. But Sam suspects there's mind control involved, so he dives into this conspiracy to uncover the truth.
And President Ross is being played by...
Harrison Ford.
I have to say, that casting choice kind of blew my mind. Han Solo as the president.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's brilliant casting, and it adds this whole other layer, right? I mean, Ross is known for wanting to control superpowered individuals.
Right.
And now he's played by, one of the most iconic rebels in cinema history.
Yeah, there's a delicious irony there.
Definitely.
But one thing that struck me as odd, and a few reviewers mentioned this too, why hasn't a new Avengers team been assembled yet? I mean, we know there are a ton of active superheroes out there.
It's a good question. You'd think after all the world-ending threats, somebody would have put together a new roster, right?
Right.
It could be they're saving that for a future phase of the MCU.
Okay.
Or maybe it's a deliberate choice to emphasize Sam's isolation. The challenges he faces as a solo Captain America.
Like he has to prove himself kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah.
Interesting. But speaking of proving himself, let's talk about how Brave New World has been received.
Oh, boy.
Critically.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, some of these reviews, they're pretty harsh.
Yeah, critics seem really divided on this one. Some are praising the action, the emotional depth. Others are calling it predictable.
Really?
Even boring. It's sitting at 52% on Rotten Tomatoes.
52%?
Which for a Marvel movie...
That's rough.
It's pretty low, yeah.
So what are they criticizing? I mean, beyond the it's boring thing.
Well, a lot of the reviews say the plot feels kind of convoluted.
Okay.
And it lacks that, that sharp storytelling of Winter Soldier. They're saying it's trying to do too much, juggling all these plot threads, the MCU connections, without delivering a satisfying story on its own.
Too much fan service, not enough substance.
That's the gist of it, yeah. Some reviewers felt like the movie was more concerned with setting up future MCU installments than actually telling a compelling story in the present.
Then there's the whole debate about the film's political stance.
Right. This is interesting.
I've seen some articles praising the film for avoiding contemporary political parallels, while others are criticizing it as a missed opportunity.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
That's the consensus here.
Honestly, there isn't one. which is, like I said, fascinating in itself.
Okay.
Some argue that in today's, divisive climate, a superhero movie should offer escapism, just a break from all the real-world anxieties, and they see Brave New World as doing just that.
I get that.
Fun, action-packed.
Yeah, sometimes you just want to turn your brain off and enjoy the spectacle.
Right.
But
yeah,
haven't some of the most memorable MCU moments come from tackling real-world issues?
Absolutely. Even if it's through, this fantastical lens, like some of the most powerful scenes in these movies have dealt with loss, sacrifice, even political corruption.
So it's like they're trying to walk this tightrope between acknowledging the potential for political interpretation, but also emphasizing the entertainment.
It seems that way.
Okay, let's go back to the critical reviews for a minute.
Okay.
We talked about the plot criticisms, but what about the actual filmmaking? What are they saying about the action, the visuals?
Well, that's where things get interesting. Some reviewers found the action sequences to be, technically well made, but they said they lacked the impact, the excitement of previous Captain America films.
Really?
Especially Winter Soldier. One review even used the word aimless to describe the action.
Aimless?
Yeah, like it was just going through the motions.
Wow. That's pretty harsh.
Yeah.
I'm starting to wonder if maybe trying to tie everything back into previous MCU stuff is actually hurting the film's ability to create its own moments.
That's a real possibility. A few reviewers specifically pointed out the heavy reliance on nostalgia, references to past films.
Yeah.
And they argue that this constant winking at the audience, it actually undermines the emotional stakes.
It's like they're so busy trying to please the diehard fans that they're forgetting to tell a good story for everybody else.
Yeah, maybe.
And speaking of storytelling, what about the dialogue? Any cringe-worthy lines or, memorable exchanges that stay out?
Unfortunately, yeah. Several reviews pointed out some clunky dialogue.
Really?
That felt forced, uninspired. One example that comes to mind is this exchange that goes something like, "Don't be that guy."
Okay.
What guy? That guy who has to do things the hard way. Looks like I am that guy.
Oof. Yeah, I can see how that would fall flat. It doesn't have that, that wit that we've come to expect from Marvel movies.
It sounds like Brave New World is struggling to find its own voice, Taught between trying to pay homage to the past and establish its own identity.
But surely there must be some good stuff in there, right?
Oh, absolutely. There are some bright spots. A few reviewers praised the film's visual style.
Okay.
They noted that it avoided that overly desaturated color palette.
Yeah.
It becomes so common in superhero films.
Yeah, it's like everything's gray and brown.
Exactly. So they appreciated the more vibrant look of Brave New World. It gave it a distinct visual identity.
Now that you mention it, I do remember seeing some stills from the film that had this really striking look.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the typical dark and gritty thing. It felt, more alive somehow.
Exactly. Yeah.
So even with the criticisms, it sounds like there's still some potential there.
Definitely. And even the most negative reviews acknowledged Anthony Mackie's charisma.
Yeah.
They still see potential in his portrayal of Sam Wilson as Captain America. They're suggesting that there's room for the character to grow.
There's hope for a redemption arc. I'm still rooting for Mackie to really make this role his own.
Yeah, it's not easy stepping into the shoes of such an iconic character.
Right.
But I think he has the talent, the charm to pull it off.
I think so too. And it's worth remembering, even some of the MCU films that weren't critical darlings.
Yeah.
They've gone on to become fan favorites.
That's true.
Like Thor, The Dark World. It wasn't exactly praised for its originality.
No.
But it's gained a bit of a cult following over the years.
You're right, Thor, The Dark World. Maybe not the most groundbreaking film, but still a fun watch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe Brave New World will be the same. Maybe it'll be a slow burn, a film that grows in appreciation over time as we see how it all fits into the bigger picture.
That's a great point. It actually brings up a bigger question about the future of the MCU in general.
Ooh.
Is this whole intricate web of interconnected storylines, is it ultimately beneficial? Or is it starting to weigh down individual films?
Are we getting to a point where the sheer scale of the MCU is working against it?
It's something to think about, for sure.
It is, and it's something we'll have to keep exploring as we continue our deep dive into Captain America, Brave New World.
Absolutely.
Because we're not just here to dissect this one film.
Right.
We're here to understand its place within the larger tapestry of the MCU.
Exactly. And I think Brave New World is like a microcosm of the challenges and opportunities facing the MCU as it grows. We need to consider whether this constant pursuit of interconnectedness is coming at the expense of individual film quality.
Is the MCU becoming too big, too unwieldy?
Yeah. Can it maintain its creative momentum, or will we see more films like Brave New World that feel more like pieces of a giant machine?
Then standalone stories.
Exactly.
That's the question, isn't it?
It is.
That's the billion-dollar question.
And that's what we'll be exploring as we dive deeper into the criticisms and implications of Captain America: Brave New World.
Stay tuned. So we know Brave New World is wading into some deep waters here.
Definitely.
But I'm curious, what are the actors themselves saying about this political debate?
Well, both Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford have addressed it in interviews.
Okay.
Mackie seems to lean toward the escapism argument, suggesting that audiences might be tired of all the political debates, just want to get time at the movies.
Yeah.
He even joked that no matter what color Captain America's suit is, someone will always find something to complain about.
I mean, I get that. Sometimes you just want to switch off and enjoy the spectacle.
Right.
But haven't some of the best MCU moments come from tackling those real-world issues?
Right. Some of the most powerful scenes,
even if it's through this fantastical lens,
have dealt with loss, sacrifice, political corruption.
Right.
And Harrison Ford, he's emphasized in interviews that Brave New World isn't meant to be a direct commentary on current events or a guidebook for presidents or anything like that. He sees it as more of an imaginative exploration, within the MCU's own reality.
So it sounds like they're consciously trying to walk this tightrope.
Yeah.
Between acknowledging the potential for political interpretation while also emphasizing the entertainment value.
It's a tough balance.
Sometimes the best stories are the ones that focus on the smaller moments, the personal connections,
right?
The human element.
That's where you, the viewer, come in.
Yeah.
Don't just passively consume these films. Engage with them critically. Ask questions. Demand more.
Yeah.
The future of the MCU is in our hands. We need to let Marvel Studios know what kind of stories we want.
What kind of universe we want to be a part of.
Exactly.
So as you watch Brave New World, keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the balance between the standalone narrative and the MCU connections. Notice how it handles themes of legacy, responsibility, the challenges of taking on that heroic role, and most importantly, form your own opinion.
Absolutely.
Don't let the hype or the reviews dictate your experience.
The beauty of the MCU is that it's a shared experience, but also a personal one.
Right.
Every viewer brings their own perspective, their own expectations, their own hopes and fears.
And those individual interpretations, that's what keeps this franchise alive.
What keeps it evolving.
So dive into Brave New World with an open mind, but also a critical eye. Embrace the complexities, the contradictions, the questions that it raises.
Because in the end, it's not just about watching a movie.
Right.
It's about participating in a conversation.
About the power of stories, the meaning of heroism.
The future of the MCU.
And who knows, maybe those conversations will help shape the next chapter of this whole saga.
It's a possibility.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Captain America: Brave New World.
My pleasure.
We'll be back soon with another insightful exploration of the MCU. Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.